It's casual, not formal. It's hosted by Rory Pendlin. Oh, and Renee in tow. It's time to start the show. 1, 2, 3, go!
Hello and welcome to another episode of It's Casual. This is the 91st episode. This is going to be the last one for a little while where I'm going to take a vacation. My wife is coming from China next week, and I'm going to spend some time with her for the next few weeks, and we'll be back in mid-September, probably the second week in September. But let me bring up Renee Yaworski.
Hello.
Yeah, we're going to take some time off.
Yeah.
And you're going to get some, but I know you. I know if I give you time off, you're just going to do 300 other shows with other people. I know you.
Well, that you're the same way. I mean, you're exactly the same way. We don't know how to quit. We don't know how to quit. We're always doing something. You're going to find a way to do something. Trust me, during that time. I don't even know what it is. Even if it's just writing or in your mind, you're going to be coming up.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm definitely hoping to catch up on some writing. There's 2 sequels to 2 books that I should crank out, that I should have had done, a year and a half ago. Yeah. So I'm hoping to do that. I'm hoping to I have an English book that is going to be published soon. I'm hoping to finish what needs to be finished for that to happen.
Right. You got a lot going on.
But we have Belinda Belaski coming on this Thursday for Big Monster Briefing Room to talk about Piranha.
We love her. And Piranha is like her main role. When I think of her, I think of Piranha. So
for me, it's The Howling. My favorite of hers is The Howling.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, but there's so many amazing scenes in Piranha, like the blood in the water, and it's
you get to see Keenan Wynn with his legs stripped and bloody, just the bones hanging down.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got a great cast, and again, it's early Joe Dante. So I mean,
she and Joe had quite the partnership.
Yeah, she's in a lot of his stuff. Most of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's going to happen on Thursday, and then Monday we're going to do 2 guys and a gal talking movies, Scorsese version.
Scorsese by popular demand. That's what people wanted. Yeah,
and that's it. Then I'm flying up to New York to pick up my wife.
Yep, it'll fly by. You'll wish it were longer.
Yeah. I'll wish it was longer.
Yeah, you wish you had more vacation time.
Or I wish I could stay away from those people that have social medias. You made it sound.
No, it's just that you work so hard.
Those Cosmos people.
No, it's just I don't think people realize. We've said it a million times, but I think if they're not doing it, it's hard for them to realize. Even just one howitzer, what you put into literally that 1 hour for that week, it's intense because you're watching the movie, then you're making the PowerPoint, you're colorizing some of them. Then we do the show. It's a lot. And that's just one of the shows. And then you also have Painting with Rory. Then you have 2 guys. So you're prepping for that.
Yeah, we're going to do a Painting with Rory tomorrow night, but I'm not going to paint. We're just going to talk about art and painting. And you guys can tell me what some of your favorite art is. And we'll do the trivia questions to give away a prize. But I'm not going to paint anything. I don't want any wet paintings in the house when my wife gets here.
Okay, no wet paintings. Yeah. Well, they can off gas. They can have some, some toxic fumes sometimes, right? So yeah. Look, happy wife, happy life. Just,
Again, I want to give her as much time as I can while she's here because she's been here for 5 weeks. So she's coming here to see what life is like here in Florida. So
she hasn't been to Florida before?
She has, but it wasn't pleasant the first time for her. There were no Chinese people here. There's a large Chinese community here now.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Stuff here. Yeah.
I did not know.
Um,
Okay.
and I was too busy working and really didn't have a lot of time to take her places. And I should have. I should have made more time. I was a lot younger then, and stupid.
Mhm.
So again, this time I'm planning for a better trip and a
Yeah.
happier time, and hopefully, yeah, she'll make her retirement plans based on this trip, and we'll see what happens. So,
Yeah. Show her all of the best places. Show her like the best Florida. What is the best Florida? Take her to the Keys. That's and do, do
my brother lives down in Key Largo, so yeah, we're definitely going to go down to the Keys.
you got to go down
Um,
to the Keys. I mean,
yeah,
that's to me, that's the best part of Florida, probably.
and we might go down to West Palm Beach. She wants to see what life was like there. I think we went there before. Well, my brother was living there before he moved to the Keys.
Hmm.
Um, and well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I definitely want to show her some of the nicer neighborhoods here because she's really interested in the real estate and how it works here. That kind of thing.
Right. That's right.
So
That's right.
because she's bought a lot of property in China,
Mm.
she's having a hard time getting rid of now.
Well, are you thinking about
I don't want
going?
to go into that.
Are you thinking about going to China? Do you miss China?
Yeah, I had a better life in China, to be honest with you, because I didn't have a lot of responsibility. She took care of paying all the bills and stuff.
Hmm.
And again, the way things happen here and the way people just kind of nickel and dime you here, it's very hard to live here,
Hmm.
and keep your head above water. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, this is something that I've noticed since I lived there for 15 years and I came back, how
Hmm.
much more expensive it is to live here,
Mhm.
and how just there's always something that's going to sap that money out of your bank account.
Right. Right. So
It's just
China's not like that. See, I didn't know. I've never been to China. So China is just more equality when it comes to finances?
uh well, for me, I mean, my wife has a great job there. She sells elevators, and I had a good job. I was an English teacher for
Mhm.
kids, and an American English teacher for kids. So I was like a hot commodity. So I
Mhm.
was like, it was I was a big fish in a big pond.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
And I made very, very good money there.
Mhm.
So now I'm schlepping pizzas to people's front door.
So
I'll be
so
60
do
in
you
February.
not so so like what I'm saying is then why, because you could still do all of the shows and everything from China.
But she says China is a very different place, and she's looking more to retire
Okay.
somewhere
Okay.
outside of China, I think.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Well, let's
um,
wine and dine her in Florida. Let's sell Florida to her.
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll
Again,
see.
I think we can find a cheaper place to live for our retirement, but personally,
Maybe,
and live
maybe.
like kings. That's my guess.
Well,
So,
yeah.
there's a lot of other places that might be, better for us.
Look at
Well, we'll
look at
see.
Georgia. Georgia's affordable right next
I was
door.
talking about outside of the U.S.
Oh, outside of the US? Yeah, well, outside of the US, it's really 80% of the countries would be cheaper than America. Yeah.
All
Seriously.
right. So for this last show, we're bringing on somebody who everybody knows in the Cosmos Creative
Mhm.
TV universe, uh,
Yes.
and the Tardon verse, as we used to
Abs
call it.
yes.
He is a singer and a musician. Um, but it's like a hobby for him. He doesn't have any aspirations. So he told us of like becoming a famous star or anything. He just
Yeah.
likes to play music and he likes to
Mhm.
sing. And it's really, I mean, his voice is he has a beautiful voice. I mean, it's exceptional. It really is to me. Well,
Mhm.
the first time I heard him sing, I was like, "Oh, I hate that son of a bitch," because he's so good.
He
Um,
is very, very good. His voice is
and,
impeccable.
and again, I mean, him and Troy Moore is another one. It's just I love his voice.
Mhm.
I love to hear him sing, just like this person we're bringing up now. And I just wonder why these guys aren't famous. You know,
Mhm. Well,
um,
David told
I
you
know why
why.
I'm not famous. I'm just okay.
No, 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 no,
But
no. David and Troy both have said, they haven't really made the commitment to really do that push. Like David said, for him, he really is more comfortable with it being a hobby right now. So I,
yeah,
I think a lot of people don't, that's not the most important thing to them. If Troy Moore or David wanted to be famous and they went 24 hours a day and they really went all in and that's what they did, music exclusively, I think you'd see them overnight, I think you'd see them blow up way overnight, but not everybody, we'll talk to David about that because he was telling us backstage, he said he doesn't really identify as a musician, which is interesting, but he's just as talented, as anyone that you hear on the radio. He's just as talented.
More so in many cases.
More so in many, many cases. Yeah.
Let's bring him up. We've embarrassed him enough. David William Myers.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you enjoy the sound of my voice. That's really awesome, Rory. You're an inspiration to me, honestly.
You talk funny.
It's so pristine and beautiful.
You said you wanted me to come on and do a song, and so I want to do Georgia, sweet Georgia.
Hey, Charles, everybody. You look a little different, Ray, from the last time we had you on.
And I don't have my glasses next to the computer.
You guys
the whole night through.
You guys lump me together with Troy Moore, and I gotta tell you that he is everything that I want to sound like. Like I love what he does. Like every time I hear him, I'm like, yes, I love that style. I like that ghostly like
beautiful
dissonance, like that, those distant ghostly vocals. Like, man, that's my favorite thing, and that's what I'm always like trying to like achieve a little bit more, like to just sort of tap into just the soothing part of the singing thing, I think. But yeah, it's hard, but he's amazing.
He is amazing. And I wanted to say, someone just said you're super hot too. Troy Moore and David are both super hot. So what is that like? Because I've asked Troy about that as well. He's another lady killer. Like, what is that like being called like super hot all the time?
It's all. I gotta say, I think the internet does me a lot of favors because I've always and that it's no joke. Like I don't think like I know I'm not an unattractive person, but I am somebody that typically has felt kind of overlooked, like in life for the most part, and a lot of it, I think it's just my stature. I'm a lot smaller than most people realize that I am. I'm a tiny human being. Like my waist is like
Benjamin Button
I've got like my waist is like 126 inches. I'm like 5'4" on a good day. I'm really small, and
so you're Davy Jones.
Did you say 126 inches?
You're Davy Jones.
My waist is 42.
I'm a really like I have to shop buy my clothes in the women's section and the children's section. That's where my clothing comes from.
But let me tell you this.
Story.
Let me tell you this. Tom Cruise, Bruno Mars, Davy Jones. There's a lot of heartthrobs that are, not huge individuals. A lot of women like.
Well, when they're only seen
Frank
on
Sinatra
camera, it's a lot more flattering. But in person, I think that a lot of women, with the exception of some, but a lot of women are, I think, biologically wired to sort of naturally be attractive to like men that look strong or of big stature and that sort of thing. So historically that it hasn't really worked out in my favor, but I mean, it's probably problematic, but there's probably a good chance that maybe like women that have been through traumatic situations in their relationships are more likely to be comfortable with somebody like me who's seems a little bit less threatening in stature. Because if you meet me in person, you definitely wouldn't think that I could hurt a fly.
But he's hung like a horse.
The tripod.
I don't know where that came from.
Let's not go that direction. I did not come prepared to talk to that.
I ripped off an Austin Powers joke. I'm sorry. So do you think that you've reinvented yourself a little bit with the onset of this virtual world? Are you repackaging David, and are you finding confidence and freedom and being able to sort of?
Well, actually, like I've always had that. I had that long before pandemic. I'm Thursday, which is what, 2 days from now, I'm about to turn 42. And I have been a computer nerd since I was 9 years old. I was probably one of the first adopters of the internet. I've always been on online, like most early forms of social media that existed. I was already there. It's just a natural play. In fact, it's so natural for me to communicate with people online that I think that I find myself frequently in situations where I perhaps maybe have made somebody else uncomfortable because they're not as comfortable in that environment as me. And for me, it's just a natural way to communicate with people and a natural place to be. So that was easy for me. Pandemic did an interesting thing for me because I've had sort of like, as far as being socially, like physically in person, outwardly outgoing. I've had ups and downs in my life. I've had times where I was a man about town. I know tons of people around here, connected with the music scene here and local venues. And but I kind of went into a phase even before pandemic where I was just working, coming home, and just spending my time online. And then the pandemic situation kicked off, and interestingly enough, somebody here locally invited me into quarantine karaoke, and I met a huge portion of our community, like a lot of people that you guys know, just there. And just over time, it's eventually brought me here to, it like SDF and then Cosmos as a result. And but the pandemic actually, just all it really did is it brought more people into space that was already a space for me. So suddenly I had more people to tap into, more, so it was actually, for me, it's been a good experience overall. Like, I've gotten to meet a lot of people and make a lot of friends.
I was going to ask you how and when it started, the social media aspect of
Mhm.
your life.
Very, very
a lot of
very
people, it
early for
started
me.
with the pandemic.
Way before MySpace even existed. Like
Oh,
long before that. Like the earliest forms of social, literally the earliest chat forms, the earliest chat platform, one of the earliest chat platforms that existed, was IRC chats, which still exist now. They still exist now. I believe
I
Discord
remember
is.
those.
I believe Discord is actually a fork off of that platform.
Hmm.
It's just been added upon so much that it's barely recognizable. But I started out, that was my first form of social media. I ran networks. I helped administrate IRC networks at the time. Had my own IRC network. That was a big thing. That was where I really got started and just got to talk to people from all over the world. At the time, because it was more sort of niche kind of, and the majority of households weren't regular PC users. A lot of people weren't on the internet yet. During those years, I was mostly surrounded by computer nerds, so it really drove me, my nerdy side home a little bit more, because then I was trying to impress my nerdy friends. So I was right there learning how to program right along with them. We were creating bots that would hang out in the chat with us and do games and interact with us and that sort of thing. So that was my younger years doing a lot of that.
Let's go a little further back.
Uh-huh.
Usually when I have a new guest, I'll ask them where they started out, where their home was, with the hometown, and what growing up was like. Do you have a normal childhood?
I I struggle going through a lot of details on my childhood, mostly because I have very selective memory even with my childhood. I'm always jealous of people that can give you memories of when they were 3 years old or something like that. But I was I'm half German, half American. My dad was in the military. He was in Germany. My mom is German, and I was born in Neuendettelsau, Germany, and spent a huge chunk of my childhood in Heilsbronn, Germany, going to a German school with German kids for, I guess I went to a German school with German kids for about, I think, 4 years.
So you're fluent in German.
I should be, but But a lot has
I'm not
happened over
fluent
the
in
years.
Chinese. I was
I
there for
can
15 years.
I can listen to people speak German and make out most of it, but I've lost so much over time. And when I personally try to think of the words, I have a hard time finding the words these days. A lot of that is because we moved to the States when I was 11, and my mom and I just slowly transitioned to just speaking English to each other because of my stepdad. And it just I just kind of slowly lost touch with a lot of my German. But yeah, most of the I like 4 years of German school, and then I started going to an American school with American kids on the military base after
Mhm.
that. And I didn't I did like crap in the German school, for the record. I don't know why, but once they put me in that military
That's
school
crap.
environment, I did great there. I was making straight A's there.
Um, so you just said that you spent your teen years with a stepfather.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right, that must have
And
been
he's
difficult.
well, he's still in my life now. He's actually I'm close to him. Yeah, it's
Okay, so
it hasn't been
that was a smoother transition
yeah,
than.
it hasn't been difficult. I wasn't, like I wasn't one of those like I wasn't traumatized by my parents' divorce or anything like that. That's not a thing I can say.
Mhm.
If anything, I was even as a child, I was able to see that they were better off not being together, my mom and my dad.
Mm,
And so for them to move beyond that and to then not have a toxic household as a result,
mhm.
that was that was helpful, and
It's
I was
funny that I've talked to other people about this throughout my travels, and yeah, I mean, if the relationship is like you say is toxic and it's not working out,
Mhm.
sometimes the children later on are traumatized because they feel that it was their fault that it didn't work out.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
so sometimes it is better to just know when to say, okay, let's,
My
you know,
parents were not good to each other at the end, but they never gave me the impression that it was my fault or anything.
that's
Mhm.
good.
And them ultimately splitting up was not a source of trauma for me, not realistically. It gave me some difficult times as a kid. You don't want to be put in that position where, sometimes you're forced to pick between mom and dad, and then that does kind of ultimately happen sometimes, but
Mhm.
nothing that I find that I like look back on and think was terribly traumatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, again, small children want their parents to stay together, no matter what.
Yeah.
And again, if there's a tumultuous relationship going on for year after year after year, eventually they grow up and they go, "Wow, why did I fight to keep you guys together? You could have been a lot
Yeah.
happier." You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, they turn it back on themselves.
Mhm.
So um,
Agreed.
I'm happy to hear that you made a smooth transition into a new happier life with a stepdad who took good care of you and was good to you, and that's great. That's good. So few times it works out that smoothly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
There's a
I mean,
reason
and
why we
I
have
mean,
the phrase redheaded stepchild.
I had very young parents, so there was a lot of difficulty in that because they were still, while they were even with my stepdad, while they were still, sort of finding themselves and maturing, early in life, they were raising me at the same time. So there were definitely times that were difficult. But but all in all, we got through it together. When you have really young parents, sometimes it's almost like you grow up together, which is
Mm,
creates a little bit of a different relationship with them in a way. But sometimes that can be good too.
you can be best friends. Why not?
Yeah.
Um, Wanted to ask you, when did music start to happen in your life?
Um. You know, like I would have to like first I would have to say like where did the influence first happen? And I actually it's weird. I remember as a very little kid, my mom played 12 string for a while, and she can't play a lick of guitar now, for the record. But I just remember that as a little kid. But I think ultimately my my step grandfather, um I used to go stay with them in Columbus, Ohio every single summer for basically the entire summer vacation. And
Mm,
he he was probably out of everything that is all the things that I'm interested in, he somehow seems to have been the biggest influence because he just was really good at nurturing those things and sharing things that he was excited by, so he was interested in technology. He has a very technical line of work that he's been in his life, and so I got interested in computers at a very young age. He helped me. He got me my first computer. Then he helped me build my first computer. And then this sort of the same with music. He had instruments around and shared some of that with me. But it really didn't happen until I kind of like realistically. I think I was just trying to be a cool kid because when the grunge era happened, those early '90s. The type of friends that I made at the time, they were all into that kind of stuff, and that's when my parents got me my first guitar, and it was just something fun to toy with at the time. I didn't take it real seriously. It was some years later. I would just play around on it every now and then. I wasn't able to do it. Like I did the most basic. Like I could hack out some Nirvana riffs or something like that. Like because that's what I was all about at the time. Some years later, I did take piano lessons very, very briefly before giving them up, and that was still early teens, and but outside of that, music's been a very weird hobby of mine, because it's not been something I've been very consistent on, and if I had to say so, the community that we roll in that I've been involved with ever since pandemic, like QK and groups like SDF and Cosmos and all these other groups that we've all gotten connected with. They've probably made me the most involved with music consistently than I've ever been, because before that, I'd pick around on the guitar, try to sing a little bit or something, and then I wouldn't touch it for, months, half a year, something like that. And now it's become a fairly regular thing. So if anything, I almost feel like it almost feels to me like music is more recently something than what it used to be. Though I have had phases in the past where I was kind of at it for a good stretch. There were times where I was trying to write music, but I never really felt like I finished anything.
So who brought you into the Cosmos creative TV universe?
I would have to attribute that mostly to Alana Lang and Sandy D. The two of them, I was already familiar with the two of them, and
Alana made a comment earlier that she brought you in. That's what.
Yeah, they just welcomed me with open arms. We were previously friends, and just in talking, both of them just seemed excited to share Cosmos with me, and yeah, I attribute that entirely to them for the most part. And then of course, short after I got into Cosmos Space, I was even more welcomed by everybody else, because it's just a great team, great group of people.
Yeah, great team, great
team.
Nice people. A little Rain Man going on there.
Yeah.
I told you that we were probably going to get you to play right out of the gate, and here it is, halfway through the show. We haven't had.
That's okay.
We haven't had you do a song yet.
So,
if you want to play something right now,
it's
please.
called "It's Casual" for a reason. We're just, we're hanging out, having a good time.
Again, the conversation got so interesting right away. That.
Yeah. Let me see. What was I going to do? Okay. Well, oh, my piano timed out on me. Power goes off automatically. All right. I'm relying on Renee to make sure the sound is good. On fire, and no one could save me but you. it's strange what desire could make foolish people do. And I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. And I never dreamed that I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love. What a wicked game to play. Now me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do, to let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. You never felt this way. And what a wicked thing to do, to let me dream of you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you. The world was on fire and no one could save me but you. And it's strange what desire could make foolish people do. No, I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. No, I never dreamed that I'd lose somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love. I don't wanna fall in love. I don't wanna fall in love with you.
So gifted, and you do not do professional gigs, am I right? You just do it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Phew. It just seems like a waste. I mean, I know people would love to hear this in a live audience.
I
Wow.
would probably have I also, for the record, have ridiculous amount of stage fright and would probably just have a panic attack in person.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. I know I've told this story on the show before. My father went into a singing competition. He was very good at playing the guitar, and the family loved to hear him play the guitar, and he would sing songs and stuff.
Mhm.
And he went up. He went into a singing competition at a restaurant, Skeeter's
Mhm.
Big Biscuits in Gainesville. As a matter of fact, I remember this.
Skeeter's Big Biscuits. That sounds like a place.
Skeeter's Big Biscuits, and they were huge, size of your face. Anyway, I digress. I got to the restaurant just as the show was starting, and I watched his set. He had a great set, and he came off after he got second place.
Yeah.
He came off after, and I had been doing comedy for a year or two before that, and he goes, "I don't know how you do this," and of course he had seen me do stage productions and community theater and stuff. He said,
Mhm.
I don't know how you do this. He goes, "I've been through a world war, you know, and I was a fireman for for decades, and again,
Mhm.
this is the scariest thing I've ever done." So yeah, for some people, it's just horrifying. It's horrific
It's
to get up
a
in
you
front of
know
strangers.
it's circumstantial for me because there are circumstances where I am good in a crowd and
Mhm.
I can stand out above the crowd and talk and be comfortable with myself. But if a stage situation where I'm up there to perform music, I can't imagine the amount of anxiety that I would have. Even at I've had an experience at work with work recently that was bothersome, and which is why I just realized over pandemic my anxiety situation has probably gotten a little bit more severe because typically in a work environment I'd been great. Like I could have a room full of people and talk to them about work related situations and I was okay. But we had a big company meeting. We met at a restaurant. We did it in two phases, and it was basically like half the crew, and then the next time half the crew. And there was a whole section of it where I was given the floor because there's a huge part of what I handle in our operation that I'm the person that needs to be the one speaking on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get up in front of everybody and I start talking, and I'm standing up, and I just like my chest started just like feeling like really shaky. My legs started to like shake underneath me, but I'm in a standing position. So first I tried to keep talking. I leaned back on the table at first, and then after a while it was just too much. It overwhelmed me, and I was like "Ugh." And I ended up sitting down, and like it was extremely obvious. The manager of the operation like came up, put his like hand on my shoulder, and he was like I got this. And so he spoke for a while. I gathered myself, and then the moment he slowed down, I was like I'm good. I can finish. And I finished saying what I needed to do. I did it from a sitting down position, which was a little bit easier at the time. But yeah, it was kind of mortifying at first, but everybody was really kind about it. Like
Yeah.
I had people like afterwards, like, "Are you okay?" And then I was just like, "Yeah, I just I mean, but like I'm pretty forward about things like depression and anxiety, because I think
Not
it's
like you got a
important.
heckler at the
Well,
work event.
like yeah,
You
like I
suck.
think it's right. Yeah, I think it's important. Like if we manage to feel comfortable talking about anxiety and depression, and I mostly am, and so even in a professional setting, I didn't have a problem just telling people that, and everybody was kind about that and empathetic. And some people even told me similar stories, and so that's it's kind of a nice
It's
way
because
to have a different.
most people feel that way. Most people have a hard time getting up in front of
Yeah.
other people that they don't know, that they're not familiar with. I've been the class clown, the ham all my life. Performing for family, etc. And
Yeah.
it never bothered me to get up in front of people on stage. And just again, as I progressed, I just rolled with it. I started doing stage
Hmm.
productions, and then I started doing musical theater, and then I decided to go into comedy because there was nowhere else to go as far as stage production.
Hmm.
And it just, I just kind of rolled with it as I escalated, and so it never dawned on me how horrific it was for some people to just even try to take a speech class and try to talk to people in a speech class.
Yeah.
You know,
I was
but I
definitely
understand it now.
I was definitely in my younger years, social anxiety was very prominent, which I don't really consider myself having social anxiety now. Now
Mm.
the anxiety is more centered around other things. I think I mostly outgrew that. There's only certain very oddball circumstances that could make me feel socially anxious, but mostly
Well, and you're
I'm over
fine on
that part of
social
it. Yeah.
media when you're in your space
Oh,
there.
that's like that's my element, you know. Like I'm
Yeah,
okay with that. Like that's fairly easy. I like the fact that
you're not
even
looking them in the eye.
well, you know, even when I'm at my when I'm feeling at my worst, like there's definitely times where like I know that I've gone on and I've not done music really well, but it's I don't actually feel I don't feel bothered by it. It's you know, Socially Distant Fest, for instance, it's a really
Mhm.
safe environment. I always try to tell other people when they're just messing around and they feel like they messed something up. I'm like, everybody that hangs out here, we're here for the process just as much as, you know, as anything. And just a general love of community and the love of music. And so, you know, like I almost don't mind going on and making an ass out of myself every now and then. If I'm not able to, then if I mess something up, I mess it up, you know, so what? It just
And
happens.
I've talked to some guests before about the fact that, yeah, I mean, when the pandemic hit and they were losing money because they weren't doing shows,
Yeah.
um, it some of them actually said, you know, I think the one that comes to mind is Dee Dee Prager
Mhm.
said, you know, you can make more money, you know, online. You know,
In
if
some
you get a
cases.
generous crowd, you know,
Yeah.
gives you PayPal donations. I didn't have to spend money getting gas and you know and buying food for myself when I got to the venue and drinks
Yeah.
and you know because they don't give you that stuff anymore. They did 20 years ago, but they don't do that now.
That was
Um,
definitely the climate at the beginning of pandemic, you know. I mean, and unfortunately, you know, once everybody went back to work, it's probably not so much. It's probably not the most lucrative place now.
no, no,
I think most of the people that are hanging in, those are the people that just love doing it. For the most part, you know. And
yeah.
I'm not saying like I know there's some people that are making money doing just that still, but those are the ones that have really cultivated a following, you know,
Mhm.
that are consistent, you
And
know.
merchandise.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah. You mentioned work earlier, and I wanted to talk to you because we were talking about this before the show, actually, I did want to touch upon this because this is an interesting aspect of what you do, and that is you're actually it's a little difficult for you to juggle work and the social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I work a lot of hours. I don't have a set schedule necessarily. I go in at a certain
mhm,
time, but then I basically work until my workload is done. And
yeah,
but I've developed over pandemic, I've just developed such a honestly an addiction to our community and all this. And it's really it's hard to leave it alone sometimes. And I am, even though I work really long hours, I still have a tendency to still hang in with it all a lot and give it a lot of my time. Even throughout my work day, I'm checking in. You know, I may not hang for things a lot during my
mhm.
work day, but it's become very near and dear to me. You know, all of this has and all the people and just what we have going here is important to me.
Well, and at the beginning of the show, Renee was saying, "Yeah, you're going to be taking 5 weeks off." But basically, what she was trying to say was, "You're going to miss it. You're going
Yeah,
to miss us."
yeah.
And she's right. She's right. I will definitely, most
Mm.
definitely. And again, I'll probably sneak a pop in here and there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Take a
Mm.
slug under the table. um,
Does your does your wife is she some is I mean I'm sure she's a lover of the arts, but is she artistic in her own ways?
no.
No, I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
This is the yin and yang of the relationship.
Yeah,
She's more grounded. She knows that this is a life, of dreamers, and you
yeah.
don't make much money doing it.
And she
The
but she
Chinese are
supports.
very much about, all right, well, are you making money?
Right.
Is it giving you a dividend? So
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I do solely for the fact that, I love to do it, and I really enjoy being with the people that I'm with when we do these things. And again, I've shelled out money for, costumes and hats and
Oh
teeth and
yeah. God, the amount of money that I
so
spend on music
she
gear
would
and
be
things
aghast, if she knew.
just to just to do this thing that I call a hobby, and I'm not even looking to ever really do anything with it. I've shelled out so much money in music gear and just all the things. Yeah, it's when you love something, it's important for us to have those things though. And I think, but I think it's important to note too though that sometimes it's better that way. Like because the moment that you make something a job, like it changes your feelings about it sometimes. I think that there's probably a lot of people that have gone through life and decided to make their financial career, their actual career, the thing that they love. And I know a lot of people say like, oh, if you do the thing that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But I think, in a lot of cases, once you start approaching the thing that you love as if it's a job, because you need it to make money and make ends meet,
Mm, right.
I think sometimes it could maybe change your feelings about that thing. And.
Yeah, you have to make money somehow. So
I mean, you do ultimately.
as performers, we
I
hear,
think,
keep your day job.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
I think that sometimes it's good to. I think it's good to sometimes, in some cases, be able to make a distinction between this is what makes ends meet, but this
Mm,
is just something I love to do right here, and
right.
to be able to have that separation sometimes, because sometimes that thing that you're doing to make ends meet, there's stress involved in it. There's things that are, and to have that disconnect and have something that you can escape into, kind of lose yourself in, and get some medicinal value out of, rather than it being a job, I think is good in a lot of ways too, I think.
One of the other things that we talked about earlier before the show was our irregular sleep patterns.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
work makes us very tired. 'Cause-
It's like, okay, sure, work makes me tired, but it's probably the fact that I'm only sleeping like 4 hours a night, during a
again,
work week. Like
again,
that's
like
probably what's
you,
making
it's
me
very
tired.
hard for me as a night
Yeah,
owl to go to bed before 2 o'clock, and then have to get up
yeah.
at 8 or 9 in the morning
I
to get ready
see
to
I
go to
see
work.
Lily May here, and she's suggested to me, I forget what how much she said she sleeps, but she's right there with us. She's a night owl. She's getting very little sleep, and then cracking the books, I guess. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Hmm.
Especially we seem to be, I don't know. I don't it's a topic for a whole different show, but like I feel like the majority of our community is neurodivergent community, and there's
Hmm.
a tendency for people that are, you know autistic or ADHD, or just neurodivergent in general, to um just sort of kind of lose track of time, and just be overexcited about things, and spend probably more time than we should stimulating ourselves, and not enough time winding down. It's hard to turn it off sometimes when you get into it.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that to some extent. Ilana is saying that that's how you guys kind of connected. Was she has irregular sleeping patterns as well. She has
Hmm.
a hard time
Hmm.
sleeping. My wife is a very light sleeper. She can't sleep on planes, so we're flying up to New York to make sure she gets a little bit of sleep before she gets on another plane to come down to Florida, and make sure she gets on the right plane because she doesn't read English very well.
Oh no.
Um, so, but yeah, we're gonna try around on trazodone and see see if that
Oh
helps.
wow. You're a drugger.
So I haven't done it yet, but one of my daughter's medications is trazodone when she can't sleep, and it's not all the time. She sleeps very well, actually, most of the time.
Yeah.
Uh, so so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll wake up uh, to go to the bathroom like after 5 hours of sleep.
And she wakes up because you wake up.
No, 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 no.
Oh.
We're not talking about
Oh.
my wife and I sleep in separate bedrooms
Oh.
usually, just because she's a very, very, very light sleeper.
Got you.
I mean, This is a pen here. If she heard that, she'd be up like,
Not
like a
me.
deer in headlights.
Once I'm
She would
out,
not be
I'm
able to go
out
back to
cold.
sleep.
Yeah.
So and sometimes if I don't see light of any kind, like my phones, if I see the lights on my phones, or if I turn on the light on the clock to see what time it is, I will not be able to go back to sleep. I don't know why, but I'm up. Even if it's 4 hours, I'm up and I can't go back to sleep. So I'm
a little bit different from that. I do myself the worst disfavor sometimes, and I know I am, but I just can't help it in the morning times. I'll be that person if I wake up because I have to pee, like it could be 15 minutes before my alarm goes off. I'm gonna go pee and then go lay back down and go to sleep, and that'll be that few minutes of sleep that I get. I'll fall into the deepest slumber ever, and I'll have such a hard time waking up. It's the worst.
You're very lucky, my friend. You're very lucky. I was able to do that this morning.
Yeah.
I got my last 45 minutes in, but it's very rare that I'm not thinking about everything that I have to do the next day or two.
Yeah.
And of course, with my wife, planning for my wife to come here next week, I'm constantly thinking about what I have to do to get everything ready for that. So, yeah. So it's a lot of times I'll only get 4.5 or 5 hours of sleep, and then have to go do a full day, And sometimes if I'm lucky, I can get an hour and a half nap in the afternoon or early evening. But usually I have to go on 5 hours, and after a long time, it takes its toll.
Excuse me for just 1 second. I have to do something really quick. Be right back. Perhaps Renee can come up again.
Okay.
She's still there.
Renee, how's your sleep been lately?
Of course, I was gonna say this is going into a realm that I was not expecting. It's casual, like David.
That's the way it is on this show,
That's the way it is, I remember
we were talking about corn nuts before the show.
That's right, which I've never had, by the way.
David has not had a corn nut in decades, he says.
see everybody, this is the hi Lily. This is all of the emerging news in the world we cover here, like about corn nuts. Did you call them corn nuts? Is that what they are?
Corn nuts.
Yeah. Am I the only person who doesn't know what a corn nut is? I don't know what a corn nut is.
It's a corn kernel. It's a deep fried corn kernel.
Okay. Yeah, David, I didn't know what a corn nut was.
David's laughing because
you've never heard of
this before the show.
No.
I have like early childhood memories of corn nuts, and I haven't been exposed to one in 2 decades, if probably more than that. But I can still smell what a corn nut smells like.
Oh, from Heather's. Okay, so that's why it sounds familiar. Okay, but Lily also hasn't had one. Is it like a regional thing? I know it was in Heather's.
I would assume that in the deep South, you can find them anywhere.
Maybe South. I don't know that.
Like Georgia, everybody in Georgia knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because you can get them at any 7-Eleven, you can get them at any Circle K.
Yeah. But I mean, is it like?
And again, it's a guilty pleasure. It's deep fried corn kernels, is what it is.
How could I have never? Okay.
So they're super hard and crunchy, and they put flavors on them. That's ranch flavor. That's what I'm eating this week.
Hold it up. Hold one of them up to the camera.
This episode of It's Casual is brought to you by Corn Nuts.
Let's tag them. We'll tag them in this. Somebody tag Corn Nuts in here.
We're gonna make it.
Or the company. What's the parent company?
This episode has been sponsored to you by Corn Nuts.
And again, I'm looking to see if there's a Frito-Lay or something on the bag. It's just Corn Nuts. That's the company. Corn Nuts is their own. It's their own company.
It's their own thing. So it doesn't even belong to Frito-Lay or any of those.
Hormel.
Okay.
If you can believe that. Hormel, the people that make weenies.
This is getting.
Hey, Hormel makes a lot of good stuff. They got a lot of good stuff.
This is intriguing. Hold on. What is the where are the headquarters? It'll say on the bag where the headquarters are. We're getting to the bottom of this right here on Hormel, Casual, everybody.
Holy cow. Minnesota? Austin, Minnesota?
You said that like the Pace Picante commercial, like
New
York City.
New York City.
New York City.
I was surprised,
Minnesota of all places. No way.
Minnesota. Corn nuts. They're
No
made in
offense to
Minnesota.
anybody from Minnesota here. I'm sure a lot of
Brad!
good things come from Minnesota.
Very good things come. They're very nice. Don't they say, oh, geez, oh, boy. Is that Minnesota?
Oh,
I
Fargo?
don't even know.
I think that's the Fargo thing where they're
Minnesota.
really polite all the
Yeah.
time. Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it,
You're like talking like Fargo.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't it kind of like a Fargo thing? I don't know.
What was it? Fargo. Where was Fargo?
North
should know this.
Dakota. North Dakota. Okay.
North Dakota. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then what is Minnesota?
Oh,
then?
yeah.
Aren't they nice? They're nice in Minnesota.
They're nice people. Yeah.
They're nice
Yeah.
people. All right. Anyways, we're getting to the
Troopers.
bottom of Minnesota, North Dakota, and corn
And
nuts.
corn nuts. I mean,
We're
we
getting to the
covered
bottom of all of the.
And
We
corn
covered a
nuts,
lot of-
man.
a lot
Cheech
of
and Chong
ground.
used to make fun of corn nuts.
It's good. It's good diversity in this episode. Like a lot of topics were covered. It's good.
Prince
stuff.
is from Minnesota?
Is he?
I never would have guessed that.
I definitely wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah.
Ow! Corn nuts are what I eat.
You don't have to put your ranch spice on my corn nuts.
I like the barbecue corn nuts. Ow! Oh man, I went off on a tangent, didn't I? So we got a few minutes left. Do you want to sing some more for us, please?
No, can I?
I think that would be nice. We haven't let you sing a lot during the show, and we should.
It's like I don't like I didn't have some crazy need to tonight, but it's fine.
We did 50 minutes of interview, which was a lot longer than I thought we were going to do. But it just, when people talk to you, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy the talk more than anything. I make the
You're a good
distinction.
conversationalist.
Cosmos is where the talking happens until Jay's Jam Fest. And then we're ready to get down. Then we're ready to get down and do some.
Then it's
do
all
some
about the
jams.
singing.
And then SDF's where the music happens. That's the way I look at it. But it's all good. Let's go down.
We'll do it on everything on our own. And we don't need anything or anyone. If I lay here, if I just stay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Don't quite know how to say how I feel. 'Cause those three words said too much, not enough. If I lay here, if I just stay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me a garden that's bursting into life. And all that I am, all that I ever was, is here in your perfect eyes. They're all I can see. I don't know where, confused about how as well. Just know that these things will never change for us at all. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world?
So much, Dave, for coming on the show and giving us a little bit of yourself musically and again, conversation.
It's fun just talking with you, Rory. You're always good to talk to.
You're a very positive person.
You are too.
You know, always good time. Renee, thank you so much. I will see everybody.
I love you, Alana Lang.
Next Sticks Casual will be probably second week in September.
Yeah, but you can still see Rory tomorrow night on Painting with Rory, and then again on Thursday, and then again on Monday. So he's not going anywhere yet. Nobody freak out. Nobody start.
Next Monday will be the last one for 5 weeks. I'm taking a break.
That sounds like such a long time. It's a long time to do without Mr. Rory Penland.
Well, we'll do reruns. That's what we're doing with Tom right now, you know.
And also what we touched on earlier,
like
Renee, you know, like I keep saying yes to things lately. You know, if you're looking to fill in some time because you know you're gonna be wanting to do extra stuff, maybe I should start working on a show, you know.
Yeah, well, I think we have it. We have, what is it? Is it called Suddenly David remembers? We had Suddenly David, or because he said he didn't want a certain time slot because it's too much pressure. He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, wasn't it a maybe something?
It was maybe David.
Maybe David.
You know, like it should have been put on the schedule for like the Cosmos schedule, like every day of the week, just because it's like, you know, like, oh, Rory with Painting with Rory, and then you know underneath that, like, but maybe David.
But maybe
you know?
David.
I
kind of, and I said at the time, I said it's actually a really great thing because people would just, and they would never know, and then when you would pop up, it would be really exciting because they wouldn't know for sure if it was going to happen. Yeah, I still think that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe David. I think there was even a poster. Might have made a poster. I feel like
she did. Yeah, for sure. She made all the things. Right? She was on it. She made all the things.
Yeah. It was really. Yeah. Ilana is wanting to double check. She's like 5 weeks, no Painting with Rory. Is that true?
My wife would not understand.
Everybody's. We're gonna have to all we're gonna have to all console each other. You know, that's a lot of time.
Why are you giving away your books? Why are you giving away these caps? Why do you have 4 or 5 of these caps? She would never understand. So yeah, we're gonna take 5 weeks off. Again, we've been doing this pretty straight since the pandemic. You know, poor Renee. I've made her work like every week of the year.
She's such a freaking pro,
especially with General Howitzer.
You guys with your crazy fast costume changes too, hopping from one show to the next.
Yeah, jumping out of howitzer and into a shoe gore, for Sandy's no icing. That's no easy task.
Yeah, it's
And I
not
gotta
like
do it while
it's
she's
not
running
like
the
you
credits.
it's not
Oh
like
my
you
God, the
got
credits are
stage
almost
hands
done.
that are there with the clothes
Get
and
my
the
wig
makeup
on.
ready. Yeah, it's like you got to do it
Get
yourself.
my teeth in.
Great job though, guys. Like you guys are freaking pros at your craft, and you bring it to Cosmos every week. So and Rory,
We just
it's a
try to have a good
it's a
time.
well-deserved
That's
break
all.
for you, and I hope that I hope that you have a really good time with your wife, and
I do too. Again, I haven't seen her in 3.5 years. I hope we have a wonderful
that's
time.
yeah,
That's intense. Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Sandy's asking if you're doing painting with Rory tomorrow, and the answer is yes.
Yes. I won't
Yes.
be painting. But we will be asking trivia questions, and we will be talking about art, and we're going to ask you what your favorite art is, and we'll still have a good time.
You should. All right, so you gotta post the flyer, but before you do it, you gotta like do a quick edit on it and just do like a big red knot and like cross out the painting part. Just like not painting with Rory.
Talking about art with Rory.
Not necessarily
Talking
painting
about
with
painting
Rory.
with Rory. I think talking about
Yeah.
Not necessarily painting with Rory.
maybe instead of maybe David, maybe painting.
Is that that's 10:30 tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10:30 EST.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Good deal.
Painting with David?
Sandy's
That'll
asking
never
if
happen.
she
I'm definitely
needs-
you never catch me painting.
I think you'll be on screen, Sandy. Yeah, I think he wants you to be on screen. So
Well, yeah.
Rory, we like when Sandy's on screen.
Mhm.
Rory
Yeah.
likes it. I like it. Well,
I like my co-host to be
Sandy
on
always
screen.
thinks she's a hot mess, and she never is. Not
she's
once.
literally never a hot
Not
mess.
once
She's
in all the time
always-
that I've ever known her has she said she's a hot mess, and then she's never is. Not one time has she been a hot mess.
No, she's glamorous.
Yes. Agreed.
Mhm.
All righty. Sarah Groover Ellenson, great chat tonight, guys. Thank you very much. I'm so glad you watched. And again, we'll catch you tomorrow night and the next night and then next Monday.
And keep
Until
an eye out
then,
for those
thanks.
funny monsters. Keep an eye out
Thanks.
for those comedy monsters.
keep an eye
Thanks
out
for
for
having
those
me.
painting monsters and movies.
Thanks for having me, Roy. It was fun.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a good night.
Okay, love everybody.